I think I already introduced myself in the beginning of the session. My name is Ilian Csertus. I'm working on British American Tobacco for emerging platforms. And I know when I say British American Tobacco, innovation is not the first thing that comes to your mind, with a very good reason. Right? So it's very strange to standing here and talk about innovation and tobacco company. But let me tell you a little more about this. First of all, obviously tobacco companies were doing the same thing since 1857. They were rolling tobaccos essentially, so that was the innovation level. They had some capsules nowadays, and that's it. But I think we all agree that there is a huge need for a transformation in this industry. We cannot do anymore what they used to do, and we need to make consumers stop smoking. And if they really want to continue, they can offer them a reduced risk products. And this is actually what emerging platforms and next generation product is. Okay? So I'm going to talk to you about is a journey of BAT, as they're trying to transform this company. It's an enormous, huge company, and they're trying their best to actually transform and get ready for the future. So they have a company for the next 100 years as well, not just the past 100 years. Okay? But before we get into what are they doing and what is this product and how does this work and all that kind of things, let me tell you a little bit about the industry, because we are in the UK and we sometimes forget how huge this industry is. It's a $770 billion industry. Still over 1 billion people in the world is smoking. 20% of the population, it's huge. You don't see that in the UK because UK is quite low in that sense. But obviously in other places like Germany, Romania, emerging markets, Latin America and so on, obviously this is still a huge problem for consumers. So what do we do about that? And obviously, as I said, innovation, this is basically how far they got until essentially the last 6 years. On the tobacco side, they obviously had all the tobaccos, they had some filter changes, the hinge lid, and now they introduced some capsules. So that's basically what they have done until now. And obviously, we all know that the landscape is changing for these companies, because there is a mounting pressure not only from consumer side, but also from regulatory side. On one side, all this consumer health considerations, the social stigma around this, obviously on the restriction of smoking, public place smoking bans and so on, that consumers are pressured for change. On the other hand, all the marketing restrictions and sales restrictions are also coming in with plain packaging, as you might be aware in the UK, or things like retail display ban. Obviously, there's a lot of marketing restrictions, as you know, tobacco companies are not to advertise or reach out to consumers and so on. So there is a lot of restrictions behind this that obviously pushes them for a change. And because it's valid for an entire industry, it's a very interesting, if you read about it, it's a very interesting, almost like a case study going on right now. Who is doing faster and what's the right strategy for us? Each tobacco company picked a different strategy. And the question is, who's going to win? So in 5 years of time, we're going to be looking back and say, what was the right strategy for that? So I can share with you today the BAT strategy and the BAT way we're trying to do that. And then I just hope that we're the right ones when it comes at the end of it. So why consumers want to change? Obviously, there is a whole harm reduction challenge for consumers, and we all acknowledge this, that obviously smoking changes your DNA and causes all sorts of sicknesses. Also, there's a consideration part, because there's a side smoke, your family, your society around you obviously gets impacted. And there's a convenience factor, because it's very convenient to stand in the airport in that little box and try to smoke. So all those things obviously motivates consumers for change. But there is a whole new world, and this is not a very exciting world for these consumers. Why? Because there is all these things that you need to remember, the early days of computer industry, right? You need to learn what is a motherboard, what is the ventilator, and you need to learn how to put this together. So this is the stage where the vaping industry is. We're not going to talk about too much of vaping industry today, but at least you see that there is solutions, other companies trying to emerge, small companies, and trying to get consumers to change in some ways and to learn a new language. This is very far away from being a smoker. It's very geeky, very cold, and consumers are not used to this kind of language. They need to learn and need to change their habits, right? I don't know if there is anybody here who vapes, just for my own. Oh, lovely.
I smoke as well, but I
yeah. Yeah, so there's this whole new world for these consumers. And then we understand obviously from all these consumers that there is generally 4 types of needs for these consumers. And I'm going back and I need to design a product and the whole ecosystem of innovation for these consumers. This is the 4 compass that I use to design. One is obviously a trust, because all these things that you just have seen in the previous slide, biggest challenge, you don't trust them. Because you don't know what's in the liquid, you don't know what you inhale, what are the synthetic products inside. You don't know where they were made, in China or somebody's back garden. So that's a huge trust challenge in this industry. So that's one of the key things that we're trying to build, being a responsible company, how we can actually build consumer trust behind the science, world-class science that we have. One is taste. We know that smoking is a very different taste versus vaping. Vaping, I don't know whoever tried, it's more a more synthetic taste. You cannot imitate in a vaping product a smoking experience. You just can't. You can also see that very different habit change of consumers. I mean, no habit change is very hard for people. They need to change habit from a stick-based, session-based item into almost like grazing all day long. So you see people all the time going around with their little vaping products. Why? Because the satisfaction, which is the last bit in here, is not there. So they had to change their habit and adjust for that. And obviously lifestyle fit. I'm sure you have seen a few products that are quite chunky. So it doesn't really fit in your anywhere, so you don't really know what to do with that. So that's very different versus what they used to do. Now, on the other hand, we also know that 70% of this, around 1 billion consumers are looking for a change. So we have 700 million people in the world who wants to change but did not find yet that solution. Okay? The vaping industry at the moment is still only a $30 billion industry. So compared to that big tobacco industry, this is a very small one. Why didn't everybody just jump over there? Maybe because it's not there yet, that consumers can feel satisfied and can feel that this is a right place to change and they can trust this industry. Okay? So we are trying to do in here, in BAT, and I think you all know that we're trying to make an ecosystem of innovation behind all the products that you're doing. So obviously, we're recreating the brands. So we're going to move away from what you call today Marlboro, Kent, or Dunhill. We're going to create our own brands. We're going to create new products that can satisfy consumer needs along those needs that we just discussed in a reduced risk way, significantly reduced this way. So we can make sure that consumers have a healthier choice, which is their ultimate objective. Obviously, this requires also different services. You need to change the mindset. How you go to market, what channels are you using, what's the processes, networks inside the company, how you operate inside the company to enable all this, and how you basically engage also consumers. So this is generally when you're doing innovation, it's not always one innovation that you're doing, it's not always one product innovation. Because when you're doing, even the top innovator companies generally do 3.8 kind of innovations. So you can see that we are doing quite a lot to make sure that you create a competitive edge, a long-term competitive edge versus PMI or versus somebody else. So that's the reason why I'm not going to show only product innovation, because it should not ever be just one single thing. It needs to be a whole ecosystem around it. So let's go through that so you can see a bit better like what I'm talking about and what are the products, because it's very hard to talk about it just theoretically. So obviously, the marketplace in this whole new next generation product is quite fragmented at this stage. Why? Because the entry barrier is very low. I bet none of you knows these brands. I mean, I personally don't know half of them. But they are emerging. There is literally 200 new companies in this space on a monthly basis. It's incredible. In the US, especially when you go to California and you do e-liquids, like everybody in the back garden is doing an e-liquid. So and this is your competition. I mean, I don't even know what is my level of competition at the moment because there's so many of them. It's highly challenging, and obviously, eventually, with all the regulation of this market, and eventually building brands, only the strong brands going to emerge, who has the right science support, who has the right quality of product, right performance, and can lead the industry standards. Okay, so this is where we are, and obviously, there's way much more than that. So what we are doing now, we are creating essentially two brands. Okay? And the way you think about this is consumers, when they're making a choice, when they're moving away from smoking and they're looking for a solution beyond the patches and medical gums and all that kind of stuff, they think about, do I want to leave tobacco behind because I'm over this and I don't want to use tobacco? That's the first decision point they are making. In that case, they want to leave behind and they are happy to change. They go for vaping. Okay? This is still very small, as I said, so something is missing there. But nevertheless, we created a vaping brand called Vype, Vaping Made Simple, exactly on the purpose that vaping is seen very geeky, very complicated for many of the consumers. So how can we come over those barriers and making a very trustworthy, scientifically proven brand for consumers? But then, majority of the people actually wants to stick to their solutions, because guess what? Smokers like what they're doing. They don't want to change. There is a reason why they're still smoking. And we like it or not, and I personally never smoked a piece of cigarette in my life, but nevertheless, they like this, and we need to accept that. In that case, you want to contain somehow tobacco. Now, That's why we created another brand, which is containing tobacco, but it does not burn tobacco. So it's tobacco heating product brand with several platforms under that, and we're going to see the platforms later on. So that's basically the two key platform brands that we are creating in order to take the company forward. So it's not Kant, it's not Dunhill, it's not Lucky Strike. We're going to create new inspiring brand with very clear purpose to find new consumers and making sure that these consumers feel that they departure from smoking. Now, let me introduce you Vibe just as an example, because obviously in order to create all these brands, you need to have a very inspiring purpose and you need to fit to those key needs, that 4 needs that we were talking in the beginning. So all Vibe, what it's doing is exists to make the world a better place, make it more enjoyable for every day, and it's a very simple, easy to use, trustworthy brand. And basically it's all about quality as a number one, trust as quality, because 95% of consumers thinks that e-cigarettes might be actually worse for you than actually smoking, because you don't know, right? So there is no proven long-term story behind that. So what are we doing around that? Obviously it's putting a smile on your face, because let's face it, compared to smoking, it's very cold. It's very inhuman, it's a cold metal device. So how we can humanize these devices to bring it closer to consumers. And obviously simplicity in use. I mean, how simple is it to light a cigarette? I mean, you can light it on literally anything. Candle, stove, lighter, e-brick. So how easy it is. But when you come into an e-cigarette, you have all these kind of parts and feeling and messy and you don't know what you're doing. So how we can simplify this for consumers and help them to change and actually help them to have a reduced risk product that actually have the chance that they're not going to die from it. But this is what we're doing in here. Okay? Let me introduce you Vibe as a brand. We're trying to make it very much more human than any other brands and connecting to consumers and a very deep understanding, which actually BAT is very good at and has a very strong brand building heritage, as I say. Now, obviously, let's talk about the products, which is very exciting. And what are we talking about, actually? Well, BAT's strategy is, in this case, is choice. Okay, this is very different from Philip Morris strategy. We do believe that consumers are different. We believe that similarly, so soft drinks or coffees or cereals or beers, when they're giving you a lot of choices and nothing is very unified, it's similar to you. We need to target the consumer, we need to find the best products for them, we need to offer them a choice. And not one single solution going to fit everyone, right? So hence we have quite a range of platforms, okay? So let me try to explain them quickly. So you have the tobacco heating products, right? Assuming you're a consumer who wants to continue tobacco heating, because you're into tobacco, you like the taste, you don't want to move away. That's your choice. Obviously, we need to help you to make it in a reduced risk way, okay? So you don't feel guilty, you don't have an impact on people around yourself as well. So the first product that you see there is, let's say, is the most familiar product. So when you really don't want to step away from your ritual, you love that stick and you want to stick to it, okay? So that little stick, which you don't see at the moment, but in the very front, has a carbon heat source. Okay, so it's a little bit of a carbon here. You don't light the product, you light the carbon heat source. It's gonna heat for 4 minutes. So you're not burning down that cigarette. It's gonna look like exactly like this at the end of the usage. You heat it. So when you inhale the tobacco taste that is from the mild heat, you can actually taste it. Okay? Why is it great for you? A, it has no smoke, it has no ash, and it has 85% less toxicants. So it's significantly better than what you're using today. The other reason why it's great for you is because there's no device needed. So you don't need to learn your ritual. You just simply light it as you just light your today's smoking cigarettes. And very importantly, this is great for emerging markets because many markets and people cannot afford a very expensive device. So what do you do in Africa where people are smoking and actually a huge population are smoking, but you need a solution for those people? And obviously, they're not going to buy the other device. Necmo is a 70 pounds device. They're not going to afford this. So how we can help them on a medium price cigarette level to give them a solution that is reduced risk compared to what they're doing. So that's our solution for it. The second one is a bit more sophisticated already. You can see there's still a stick, so you can still see that there is some level of ritual, some level of remembrance of what you used to do, but there is already a device included. Why is it good? Obviously, on one side, it shows you, especially in developed markets, that you're not a smoker anymore. So your social pressure on you is already kind of way less because you're telling you that you are stepping ahead. So your smoker identity is already you're leaving behind. You have a modern way of smoking versus the old ways. Also, because it has a way better harm reduction and consideration and better me kind of profile. It has already 99 to 95% less toxicants. As you go on in this universe, you can have better and better products with less harm reduction potential and obviously less consideration, the smoke and the smell and all that. So that's basically how you go from this side to the other side. So that's that product. Obviously, it heats it up for like a 250 degrees temperature. The stick, and then you basically just dispose the stick and that's it. Okay? This is obviously better from toxicant profile perspective, which is why a consumer would choose it. But obviously it comes with a price, which obviously they need to pay the device that you heat with. The next one is a quite interesting one. I cannot show you the new version of it, so this is just a kind of prototype version of that, and it still says Kent, and it's not going to be Kent. This is called hybrid tobacco technology. So imagine that there is a little liquid and there is a little pot. And the liquid is heated up to 100 degrees and you steam the tobacco instead of burning or heating it. Essentially, you're making a tea. And essentially, you're not changing the tobacco. It does not change the tobacco at all. You're gonna have the taste, like same as you inhale like a chamomile tea. When you smell it, and almost you can taste it. It's the same idea. But you can taste the tobacco. So for smokers who want to taste real natural tobacco taste, this is an outstanding solution, right? So this is the part that we think that this is a really breakthrough for many consumers because this has the potential of 99% less toxicant. So literally, because we're not even heating it up, to be honest, it's 100% steaming. And obviously we have also available platform on Vype, closed systems or open systems, easiness for consumers to use or people who wants to experiment more. And they are also on the high side on the toxicant reduction. So that's the portfolio of choice that we are giving for consumers. Okay? And yes, again, going back on how we're going to build trust. Obviously, this category has this perception of this, like talking about e-cigarettes in this case, because I need to pick something out of all these choices. Consumers don't trust it, they reject it, they don't trust the quality for very good reasons, right? So obviously, one of our key challenges, how we're going to come over this, is obviously make sure that we have world-class science behind us. So you're making sure that all the products are qualified and on quality, and obviously we can make those claims qualified by health organizations. And this is where we are going. So let me show you a quick video of what we have done so far. quality part and trust, how we can build trust, and obviously this is just a start. The second one is taste, because remember, taste is not the same as your smoking satisfaction and taste. So in case of vape and vaping, there's a whole experimentation behind taste that you can have with all those drippings and mixing matching flavors, if that's what you choose to do. So obviously we have a whole set of 50 different flavors that consumers can choose from, and they can mix and match based on different recipes that they can also make up themselves. So obviously this is something that we want to stay ahead of competition and help consumers to experiment with us. So that's just a few of the products that we have on different flavors and the flavor labs that you can pick and enjoy the trusted flavors that we create for you. Very importantly, satisfaction is a key challenge, because people are going back to smoking all the time because of the lacking of satisfaction. Now, in order to, if you want to choose to stop smoking, you can stop smoking, but it's very hard to go immediate, right? So if you choose to do that, it's almost a gradual reduction of that, if that's what your choice is. Now, in order to help consumers to step away from smoking in the first place, we need to have products that are high performing. And in order to do that, we are developing our own technologies within the company, as well as buying proprietary technologies, as well as reaching out to suppliers, working with other companies to find the best way to help consumers to step away from smoking. And obviously different platforms perform differently from this sense. Obviously lifestyle fit. We try to make the products that it's fun. Then you put it on the table, you feel recognized. It's fun to watch, and you feel proud of that, versus feeling embarrassed of using these products, which is what many people feel when it comes to vaping, or when it comes to using tobacco heating products. I will show you a quick movie on that. See how it fits perfectly to your lifestyle. The colors, the smallness, you can hide it if you want, you don't want people to see it. So that's actually what we're trying to strive for in every single platform that we're doing. Considering I have quite a few minutes left only, I'm going to speed up a little bit. But this is not only about products, right? It's how we are engaging our consumers as well. Because just by products, we're not going to reach a high volume of consumers. So we are using very highly focused acquisition, because obviously consumers need to learn about this. You cannot just go and buy one. You need to literally be educated on it, understand how it works, understand if that's the right product for you. Out of all these choices, what you should be doing, because you are investing behind us. So this is a very focused behavior targeting that we are doing in order to find the right consumers of these 700 million and have a one single view on the consumer journey throughout it. So from segmentation, identifying the prospects, obviously we're doing e-commerce, we're doing the whole own stores, pop-up stores, general trade. And hypercare is super important, because there is a habit change process of 21 days. And throughout 21 days, we're literally connecting to consumers 8-9 times to make sure that as they are going through the process, they are happy with the product. Do they want to change? Do they want to take it back? Is there any other choice they want to do? Can they give us some feedback on how to do this better? Is there help that they need? They need literally hold by hand, because they are switching from something that is highly addictive to this new way of harm reduction way. And that's, if you want them to stick with it and use that harm reduced products, you need to help them through this process. The hypercare is crucial for us. And obviously, on the retention side, we obviously do loyalty programs and so on, the usual things that you guys are doing. But generally, there is a very thought-through process on how we are finding the right consumers, offering the right product, making sure that they retain into that, making sure that they actually convert to these products and stay loyal for that, right? So that's basically the whole journey for that. Now, we are moving away, obviously, from the old way of tobacco approach on channels as well. So obviously, all the times you used to have some hostesses in HoReCas, you have seen some in the retails. We are not allowed to do e-commerce and so on. Compared to that, the new world is very different. So the company needs to literally learn that there is a new way and there is a new set of marketing that they are not used to. So they need to literally open up their mind, find new touch points where these consumers can be reached and can be helped through the conversion journey. So use all those touch points and our own databases and acquired databases to find the consumers, and then obviously throughout all these touch points to help them to convert. But other thing we are doing, we are becoming also a retail company. So we are buying our own stores to help, obviously, to get closer to consumers. It can be a retail store, so we are buying vape stores as well as establishing our own stores, also pop-up stores or shopping shops. So we are literally creating a more immersive consumer experience because we need to establish these brands. You have seen how many brands are out there. So we need to make sure that we can build our own brands. Consumer can educate consumers in a more one-to-one level. We can give them the right product. If they have any issues, they know where to come back, get some advice. And also we can give some immediate feedback on the products, how to make them better. But obviously you need the right team for this, because at the current moment in BAT, you don't have necessarily the right teams. So we had to establish on multiple levels new capabilities and skills in this organization. So obviously we either were building our own teams in terms of engineers, flavor experts, even marketing side. We had to hire a lot of new people to help to build these capabilities up in this organization. Or if we couldn't do that, we were partnering with different companies, entrepreneurs, manufacturers, or we bought them. That's obviously another one. So for example, we bought quite a few companies, on e-cigarette companies as well as now the retail stores. So obviously whatever is the best for the business. And we're also redirecting resources from BAT core into this new world, right, into next generation product world. So there's a lot of changes for this company to go through. And imagine this is $1 billion company that needs to have this very strong change and needs to be agile enough to go through this process and embrace this with wholeheartedly. It's a very strong cultural shock for this company that they're going through. Now, also how you learn is very different, because it's not anymore a rollout model, because we don't really know how to launch this product. This is new. This is new for the consumer as much as it's new for us. So we're literally going small scale learning. Every market we launch a city, we understand that in a small scale how to do this in a few stores, and then we scale up. If the product is successful, we scale it up. So it's a lot of trial and error and fast learning processes in order to find the right way of launching, the right way of product, and the right way of consumer targeting and educating the consumers. So there's a very different way of thinking, enabling early learning. Where we are now, so we are the biggest vapor company in the world. Okay, so in the last literally 5 years, we became the biggest vapor company in the world. So we are not just the biggest FMC company or cigarette company in the world, but also vapor. We are at the moment in 70 markets, and we're aiming to be over 30 markets by the end of this year. Obviously, we are leading in many markets as a market leader on vapor, and we invested $2.5 billion into this. We are really seriously into this. We're not going to come back on this one. So this is what we are doing. We crossed the bridge, and we're going to establish this new industry. And obviously, we also establishing with pharmacies. So obviously, pharmacies are open because it reduces products, and it's their also own interest to make sure the consumers have a solution, and that's why we are going with Vype. So more choice and less harm. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I ran out of time because it's a very controversial, obviously, a theme. So I appreciate your attention for this, and thank you very much. I don't know if you have time for question or we run out of time.
It is lunchtime. Some of you will have a networking meeting during lunch. But whoever hasn't got a network meeting, feel free to have another chat.
Thank you very much.